So for me, man, the best part about Christmas is seeing what I got everybody, because my wife buys all that stuff, and so
right on.
yeah. So, dude, it's like not only am I excited to see what I get, but I can't wait to see what I got other people because she buys all that stuff, and of course, like when she's not there, like I'll take full credit. I'll go, well, if it was up to Georgia, you wouldn't have got anything, but man, this is for me, and I personally made this last night in the workshop, and
I kick out with that every once in a while too. I'll wait till my wife. Everybody opens everything, and I'm like, I was walking the store, and I saw that, Mom, and I thought, you know what, my mom would love this. And I look over at my wife, and she's just seething on the other side of the room, and I know I got her.
Right. Awesome. I'm ready, brother. You ready?
Let's do this.
Let's do it for sure. Would you, real quick, would you say the alphabet?
A, B, C, D, E, W, X, Y, and Z.
Excellent. That was the first IQ test. We have another one coming up. You did well on that one.
The other one, you just hold a mirror under my nose and I fog it up. I got it,
right? Yeah. All right. One last thing. Hang in there. And then we're kicking it off. Yes, sir. All right. Just making sure. Same page, brother.
I even took the label off my bottle of water so that there was no incorrect product placement.
Yeah. All right. So before we get started, man, the most important thing, and because you're a fan of podcasts, so like the most important thing is complete authenticity and raw, man. Nothing's getting edited. Nothing is there's no censoring or nothing. So, man, going into this thing, the way I would think about it is, I would think like this. I would think every student, every teacher that I teach with, every student I've ever had, every administrator I've ever had, will have someday in the future, every kid that might ever walk into my life or enter my classroom will hear every word of this.
Right. Yeah, no pressure. But be authentic and don't censor yourself.
Right. So, with that, we are rolling. All right. Jason Hallman, are you ready, brother?
Let's do it.
Let's do it for sure. Teach Like a Rockstar podcast. My goodness, what an exciting day. This is the day before Christmas, and what better gift did Santa bring us than Jason Hallman from Lakeland, Florida? Is that where you live?
Yeah, I live in Lakeland.
All right, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that online there, and we're gonna spend some time with Jason this morning, and then both of us are gonna scamper out to the stores and do our last minute Christmas shopping for that one gift. All right, let's get this thing going. But before we get started, keep in mind we have Teach Like a Rockstar dates coming up in Florida. We'll be in Jacksonville, Fort Lauderdale, and Tampa in January, and then also in February right back here in Texas, in Houston and San Antonio. All right, Jason Hallman, how are you, man?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm in the festive Christmas spirit.
I can tell. Let me tell you something. When I think of festivities and Christmas, brother, I think of you.
Right on.
Yeah, you're like one of Santa's elves. Look at you. All right.
Absolutely.
So
I got the elf haircut.
Exactly. I'm not sure what that is.
I started cutting my hair about a year ago because I couldn't explain to, I'm at that point in my life where I'm almost 40, so I want everything to be absolutely based on efficiency.
Right.
So I started cutting my own hair because I couldn't explain to the person that was going to cut my hair when I sat down in the chair that I wanted the Pee Wee Herman. And they're like looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, look, I just want something that's easy. When I look in the mirror, this is what I see. So I really don't care that there's not hair around here because that's what everybody else can see. So when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, dapper, I'm ready to go.
Clean cut, man. Now me, on the other hand, I've got all kind of hair product happening. I got a lot of activity up top. Now listen, it's a good crop this year. We're proud of what we created, but you're not kidding, dude. This is an investment in time, and man, you just got to shine that thing up, and you're ready to go.
Yep, I just use a little bit of pomade and I rock out the door.
There you go. All right, let's get into this thing. So let me tell everybody where we met. We met I was doing a gig in Tampa, Florida. Is that correct?
Right on.
All right, now if I lie about any of this, you jump in. So
just call you on it.
Yeah, because I do. I mean, I meet a lot of people. So You were in the audience, and you were sitting about 8 rows back on the aisle,
Yep,
and you were next to a beautiful young lady.
I was.
Yeah, and which is weird because I kept thinking that she was going to probably get up and move, and then
that I was going to scare her.
right,
Yeah.
exactly, and then I come to find out later there's some relationship there. Is there not?
No, we worked well together. It's
Right.
we teach at the same school. We're good friends, and she's part of the Auto Academy.
Right.
So which is what I oversee, and she's our math instructor.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I didn't mean like another kind of relationship. I was talking like,
right.
yeah. So you knew her, so that's why she didn't move. So anybody else in the audience would have probably got their workbook and sat somewhere else.
I've had that before.
Yeah, me too. Believe me. Hey, listen, when I travel, we fly on Southwest a lot. And it's open seating, seat whatever you want. And I'm telling you, every time there's that one seat next to me, and the person will be standing in the aisle, and there's no seats. They're telling them there's nowhere left to sit. You have to sit there, and they still don't want to sit down.
Yeah, you see that bubble above their head like a comic book, and they're like, "I'm like, really, seriously? Like, honestly?" I'm thinking, do I smell? I mean, I put on deodorant. The whole deal.
Mm-hmm. Believe me, I don't want to talk to you any more than you want to talk to me. This seat's fine. You're just come on in.
Exactly.
All right. So you were at the gig, and you came up afterwards and said some nice things and thanked me for the day, and I thanked you for coming. And then we hooked up on Facebook. And brother, it became pretty apparent quickly that you're not your average everyday educator.
I take that as a compliment. I don't think that I am. I think that I'm far be it from me to even try to wrap my head around how I got to do what I'm doing, because I didn't take a traditional route. So, and I think I'm probably the anti-educator as far as how things get compartmentalized and how you're supposed to do things in the correct order. I just I go to school every day, and I try to teach what I have in front of me. The kids that come to school are the kids that I think want to learn. Yeah. And whatever problem or little conflict we have that day at school, that's what we focus on.
Yeah, for sure. And so now here's what I love about Hallman is at the Teach Like a Workshop, at the Teach Like a Rockstar event, we have there's a section here where we talk about if you want to make a little bit of a difference in a kid's life, no problem. Just be a little bit different. But if you want to make that monumental difference in the life of a kid, you've got to be monumentally different. And a lot of people get kind of stuck on that. Like, what does that mean? How can I be monumentally different? And what it really means is you have to be so authentic and real in terms of who you are as a person. And you can't hide anything. It's all of you, 100% totally you in front of those kids. And that's what we mean by monumentally different, because there's only one you. And, the crazy thing is about those kids is when you're faking it or like you're acting, like if you're trying to do that dictatorship, I've got the big desk, you've got the small desk, sit down and shut up. Those kids know that's not you. And so they can see through that. And so I think one of the things that you've really figured out just by listening to you talk to kids or talk to people on Facebook is that you've got this whole concept figured out is that, man, it's just you and those kids, and you have to be exactly who you are in front of those kids every day. Yeah,
you have to be monumentally authentic because kids know if you're not telling them the truth. And I tell everybody the same thing. And I've got lots of different relationships with lots of different coworkers and stuff. And I've had coworkers call me out on, maybe I shouldn't have done something that I did, or maybe I shouldn't have said something that I said. But I've got a little, I promised myself I would do this until I didn't want to do it anymore, they didn't want me to do it anymore, or I was being ineffective. And I've got a little rule that my kids know that I'm not going to tell them anything but the truth. And I ask my parents, don't tell me not to talk to your kid because of that. Because I'm not going to omit the truth from them. If they ask me a question, if they've got the gumption to come up and ask me questions, because something somewhere, there isn't somebody they can ask that question. And I'm not looking to develop that type of relationship with these kids. I'm just trying to go there every day and be, the one that invokes change in their world for them, not for me. My payoff is huge, but it's not tangible.
Right.
They can see it. I mean, they feel it. They know. I mean, I've got kids that talk to me about everything.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of teaching. So let's go back for a second and talk about when you were growing up, because you said, you are kind of, the untraditional teacher, and what I found is that most teachers that come into the classroom, and this isn't all of them, but most in my experience, they went through school and they had a great time and they loved school and they were really good at it, great academically. They knew how to play the game. They had supportive parents. They knew they're supposed to go and make good grades and do what they're told. And they come home and they're supported by their parents there. And there's a homework space at their desk they had in their bedroom, and their parents checked on mate, and they called the teacher back and forth. All that was going on, and then and because of that, they go to college because they're kind of expected to, and they go and they're successful there, and school just kind of feels good. It's natural. They're successful at it, and then they go into the classroom, and it's the same thing. And they always kind of had this idea at the back of their mind that they wanted to be a teacher. Deep down inside, like that was the one thing they really wanted to be. And so did you have that same experience growing up? Like when you were in elementary school, were you playing teacher in the bedroom with all your, kids in the neighborhood?
I think we played school. I mean, sure. I had a very, first of all, my parents are awesome. I have I believe I have the best parents in the world. My dad, adopted me when I was 3 years old. Long story there, but he had been with my mom since way before he went away to war, and that's why they broke up. But I was raised in a very traditional household, but it was we moved around a lot. We were, my dad is the hardest working person I've ever met in my life. So number one, that's my best teacher I've ever had was my mom and my dad. But, when you talk about the things like, being an academic, that wasn't something that I did. I mean, I was one of these kids that, and don't take this the wrong way, because I know that if I say this, there's going to be a lot of teachers that just, shut down around me, and it happens. But there are certain kids that are not cut out for the regimen that school is. And the smart ones and the successful ones of that group find a way to mitigate and negotiate through school, get the classes they need so they can get out of school and get jobs and do that stuff. And there's nothing wrong with somebody not going to school. And in the same vein, I would never tell a kid not to go to school. I want children to decide what they want to be. And so that's all my parents wanted from me. They wanted me to do all the things that I wanted to do. And I've had a pretty full life. I mean, my parents were always supportive. That was the one thing. And they were good teachers. But as far as going through school, I didn't have that special study place in school. Or at home rather. I didn't have that special study time at home. I was pushed to achieve exactly what I wanted to achieve. And once I made that decision, I've achieved very high level at certain things and not so much at other things. But it was always kind of on me, and my parents stood behind me and helped me prop myself up.
Yeah, and so when you were in school in elementary and middle school, what kind of grades were you doing there?
It's funny. I pulled out all my report cards about 3-4 months ago, and until I moved to Texas, which was 81.
We'll get to that.
I achieved very high level. They wanted to move me up a grade. I was, a pretty intelligent kid as far as I could figure things out. I could take things apart and actually put them back together. So I was never really strong in math. The move to Texas kind of derailed that for me, and it took me a few years to get that back up. But by the time we moved from Texas back to Detroit in '86, I was on an academic path. I would say I played football. As you well know, anybody in football or anybody in Texas, you pretty much played football.
Right.
But I was the vice president of the science club. I was on the debate team. I was, not a thespian, but I did perform, in drama and stuff like that. So I was on more of an academic path. But when I moved to Detroit again, that got derailed. So, I had kind of these, I'm used to getting so far and then getting knocked down by outside circumstances.
And so you're doing okay academically, and then when you moved to Texas, things changed a little bit.
Yeah, they did. We moved. My dad had lost his job in early '80 and didn't have work for. We had a small family business that he tried to make happen, but he was laid off from his primary employer, and we finally, it was back in those days. You went to the newsstand and you bought a newspaper from another town.
Yeah.
And I remember we were looking at Charlotte. We were looking at I even think as far as Nevada and stuff, and we ended up in Houston. And it was in the ghetto, and because that's what we could afford. And I learned some tough lessons as a kid. I'm old enough to remember my parents going to bed without dinner. I mean, I could literally.
Yeah.
And I can remember going to school one day and riding on the bus and passing a hitchhiker, and it was my dad hitchhiking to work. So, I mean, like, that's a pretty good lesson to learn.
Yeah.
My parents didn't insulate me from that stuff. So, it was a good deal. And at the end of the day.
Yeah, so they were upfront and honest about everything that was going on in the family.
Absolutely. My wife and I do that with our kids too.
Yeah. And so, and then how long were you in Texas?
We lived in Texas from May of 81, and we moved back in June of 86.
And so those years, what grades were you in at that time?
I want to say we moved there the end of second or third, and I moved back home after I'd finished seventh grade.
And so, was there a significant difference in schools between home and Texas?
Oh, absolutely. Texas schools I found them to be, it was very progressive back then. I mean, I lived there for 5 years. The last place we lived there for 2 years. So, and I lived 5 different places. So I went to a lot of different schools. I went to a lot of new schools. I mean, like 3 or 4 times in Texas the time I lived there. It was growing so fast exponentially that I went to brand new schools.
Yeah.
Like, it was very progressive, open classrooms, with the uprights where you could, it was like a big room, like an arena with office cubicles big enough for classrooms.
It was an arena. I know.
Yeah, it was a big deal,
Yeah.
So it was, but I think that my mom and dad have always been like, hey, this is what we're here. We're going to do this. We're going to make the best of it, and we've always done that, you know. So it's cool.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I appreciate the experience.
And so, going back in those time in Texas, is there a particular teacher or two that you can think back that was just really supportive and just awesome for you in your life at that time?
In Texas, I would say my football coach, Coach Wyatt, and Coach Holcamp. Those guys were real solid guys in my life because that was the first time I ever had anybody yell at me besides my dad and try to get me to do something, and
right.
and also made sure that I knew when I did what I was supposed to do that they were happy for me and they were proud of me.
Yeah.
Like that's a big deal, when someone tells you that when you're a kid and you hit that awkward age where no girl wants to talk to you and you can't figure it out and you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, what am I? Do I have a horn going on the back of my head? What's the deal? And you have somebody who's like, oh, good job, kid,
Right.
First slap on the back that you're like, okay, that's cool.
I'll tell you what, man. There's some amazing education that happens on the football field here in Texas. I know Texas gets they hear a lot of stuff about just the importance that's placed on football here. But when you get down to it, man, there's some amazing life lessons that goes on. I mean, just the fact that you can there's a group of men out there standing in the blazing 150-degree heat, and they have 100 young men that they're in charge of, and they can, what they can get out of these kids and the heat is just amazing to me. And I'm thinking, I'm trying to get this kid in my classroom with a pencil, in the air conditioning, and look what this guy's able to get out of this kid.
And there's, getting knocked on your butt is a very good equalizer. And I have a rule in the world that I exist in the world, the picture that I'm painting for everybody is that nobody's above a whooping. Yeah. I mean, nobody. There's always somebody tougher. And you need to get knocked down on your can a couple times just so that you realize, okay, all right, I didn't like that. Or, some people come back and they hit harder, and sometimes, and that's a metaphor.
Right,
but,
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, You got to have an equalizer like that. I think a lot of kids have lost their point of reference of getting it handed to them.
All right. So you moved back, and home is where? Detroit?
Detroit, yeah.
All right. Now talk to me about this term, gearhead. What specifically is meant by that?
Well, from my earliest upbringing, my dad has built custom choppers my whole life. My dad's been a biker my whole life. I mean, it's just kind of the world we've existed in. And so everything has been about either cars or motorcycles my whole life. I mean, that was how I was able to get through and navigate through all my English and writing projects and things. It was always about bikes, motorcycles, cars, everything else. I mean, it was completely, that was what I did. That's my math I learned was how to put together gear ratios for transmissions and rear ends. And, how much the lift is on a camshaft lobe and all that stuff.
Yeah. And so that was your thing growing up, just because you're hanging out with your dad, it's part of the family.
Absolutely. It was building Mustangs, Corvettes, Triumph choppers, Harley motorcycles. I mean, it was whatever it took.
And so was this your thing, like in high school? You were like one of those kids all about cars and talking about it, living that life, that whole thing.
That was it, man. I mean, when I turned 16, I had already bought my first car. That day, I can remember screaming at my mom because she came home late from work. I'm like supposed to be at the Secretary of State to get my driver's license. Like, let's go. I got to do this. I got my driver's license. I had it like an hour, and I ran some biker off the road, and I wouldn't even pull up to the intersection because this guy was yelling at me and throwing his pistol. I'm like, oh man, what a way to start out. But yeah, I mean, I had 3 hours of auto shop a day.
Really?
My junior and senior year. Yeah, I went to a Votech.
And so you're fired up for it, and this is kind of like your passion and your life, and consumed with it. Yeah, and that's the thing, man. I always tell parents that's the thing about high school is get your kid, find whatever it is. I mean, it doesn't even matter whether it's band or drill team or choir or football or lacrosse or wrestling, auto mechanic, whatever. Find your kid that one thing that they can get into. I mean, for you, it kind of turned out to be a life, but I mean, for even it's just for high school, find one thing that they're passionate and then get part of a community.
Yeah, that's all you need is to turn on, you turn on that light switch and you light up the room. I mean, that happens. That's a real thing. And, you see kids have that, I hate this term, but there's no other way to put it, is that aha moment where they're like, this is cool, I like this, that's shiny. I mean, it's like the old joke about, being a boy. You like something that either makes noise, makes sparks, or is shiny. You know what I mean? Or all three, you're like, oh yeah, that's what I want, So the first time I went to high school, and I had my regular auto shop classes like my sophomore year, and then I went over to the Votech Center, and they had like a '69 Plymouth Roadrunner that was all lettered up, and they're like, "You get to drive that," and I'm like, "Oh, where do I sign up?" And like, so, I mean, I was like just so jazzed up. They had no mufflers on; it was loud and obnoxious.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was all it took.
Right, and so you kind of found your home, you found your community. That was like your family for 3 hours a day, and then and so did you? I mean, at this whole time, were you thinking that this was going to be somehow your job, your profession?
There was no question about it. No, I mean, I can't even tell you, like, I've tried to do lots of other things. Trust me, I have. I've worn a suit to work and all that stuff, and I've tried to be this normal suburbanite, and I absolutely cannot do it. I absolutely cannot do it. And my mom and dad were afraid that I was going to end up not. I don't know. Like they would tell me, you don't want to be a mechanic. You don't want to be a mechanic. I'm like, you don't understand. It's like, I don't know how to be anything else. Like, I didn't put a tool in my hand. You did. I didn't make me watch drag racing. You did. I didn't, dude, I can tell you right now, one of my earliest memories was we lived in a neighborhood called Brightmoor in Detroit. And it was rough 35 years ago. It's like a war zone today. But I was clutching the tank of my dad's chopper, and we went to a bank, and they didn't have little motorcycle helmets back then. I wore a football helmet. I was sitting in front of my dad. I'm like 3 years old, and I remember this.
Safety first.
Bank. This lady is just like, I can't believe you got that kid on that bike. You're going to kill him. And I just remember my dad saying something that was very, very, very not nice. And, what I mean? But I've always been around that. That's me.
and so this, all right, so this is you, and you're leaving high school and you're going to pursue this even more.
Yeah, well, here's what happened. There's an interesting story. My mom was hell-bent that I was not going to be a mechanic or any way, shape, and form involved professionally in the auto industry. So I went to Speckshauer School of Broadcast Arts, and I did radio and television. Uh-huh. And then I went right back to my job at the speed shop. Right after graduation, I went right back to the speed shop. I'm sitting in the speed shop one day, and I get a phone call. Hey, man, it's Mike from class, dude. We need an on-air DJ over here at 98.3. Will you do it? I'm like, I went over there, I got the job, and I was on the air. I was Jay Richards on 98.3 WLCS, Muskegon's Oldies FM.
Muskegon, nice.
Yeah, Muskegon, the armpit of Michigan.
Right. All right. So then you rocked that for how long?
90 days.
There you go.
You can't work full time in radio.
Right.
I was making like $3 an hour or something.
And then so you went back. Now, at what point does this whole idea of teaching show up in your head?
I started my own company in 2003 with my dad, a motorcycle shop called JR Cycle Works up in Detroit. And we did that for quite a few years, and we decided we want to move to Florida. So I sell my business. We moved to Florida, opened a new motorcycle shop, 12-month riding season, blah, blah, blah. I go to this school where they're teaching people how to get their license in Florida. You have to have this school to get your motorcycle license. And this guy's the teacher, and he's talking to me. He's like, man, you should come talk to my high school students. So I go there. I speak to his students that day, and he's like, man, he goes, there's a school up in Wesley Chapel that needs a teacher. I'm like, man, I don't have a degree. I'm an idiot. Like, I'm certified, And he's like, that doesn't matter in Florida. You can get your vocational degree. I'm like, what is that? He's like, it's where they take your years of experience and put it in. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go into the interview, and I get hired.
Right.
And the next thing you know, they're like, all right, cool, here's your keys. Here's your classroom, and these are your kids. And if you need anything, call 48700. Bye-bye. And it's like 30 kids looking at me going like, yeah, what are you doing here?
Right.
I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's make it happen.
And so when did you know this is going to work? Like, this is you?
I haven't figured that out yet, dude. Yeah. Honestly. I'm just, like I said, I'm doing it. I'm doing the absolute best job that I can. I think if I decided I didn't want to do this anymore, I think that there would be a riot. I mean, I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I don't go a day without getting a text from a student like, hey, Mr. H, this happened, or, hey, Mr. H, this is going on. I mean, like, it's like complete immersion. It's like everything I do in my life is just like, I get into it, I do it, I make myself available for everybody that wants to do it with me, and we plow along and we chart this path. Part of it is we make it up as we go. The other part of it is I've got this loosely based plan of what, in the few hours that I do sleep a day, I put things together on how I think things are supposed to look. They don't ever end up that way, but right. At least I got a direction when I get up in the morning.
Right. And so and not to confuse what you have going on, because brother, I snooped online and I saw you what's happened at Wesley Chapel, and you have a ginormous program. I mean, this isn't like 4 and 5 kids, in a little garage behind the school, in a portable building or something. This is a ginormous. And so this, and it wasn't always that way. I mean, this thing has grown over the last few years.
Dude, when I took over the program, there was 84 students in it, and we had a carport outside with running water and power in it, so we could power up a vacuum cleaner. That was our auto shop. Yeah. I didn't even have textbooks. I did not have textbooks. I had 24 laptops, and I didn't even have like an online subscription to the textbook. So I went in and I ordered textbooks, like a class set of textbooks. We started kind of getting organized. I started collecting parts up and stuff, and collecting tools. And the school had bought a few tools preemptively, but there was no facility.
Right.
And they came to me about 4 months into it, and they're like, hey, what kind of shop would you like? I'm like, I don't know, square box with a roof on it, where I can work on cars with kids. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, well, can you put something together? Can you draw something for us? I'm like, yeah, sure. And I drew this 6-bay garage and, classroom and all this stuff, and they took those plans to an architect, and they bring me these plans. Like, what do you think of this? I'm like, that's what I drew, but it's not like me, the idiot, drew. I don't even use a ruler. I'm like, yeah, over here, and this was all planned out. And then they're like, well, do you want to build this? Do you think we should do this? I'm like, this one, the one I drew? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, let's do it. So they spent $1.4 million, dude.
Yeah, that's huge.
$1.4 million, and it's 6 bays. And I did a couple things. I had to when you have a program like this, you have like this advisory board. And what I'm trying to do is, and this is where it's going to get dicey, is I'm trying to absolutely clean sheet, like Control Alt Delete everything that's been done up to this point for teaching industrial arts, because although it was effective one day, it's not effective. It's not as effective as I think replicating an industry would be. So I'm doing everything kind of like how I would want it done. I mean, I sign the front of someone's paycheck every week. I run my own shop away from school.
Right.
So I know how a shop's supposed to be run. So I run this like a miniature dealership. And I've got a couple obstacles, and I have an advisory board. And I wanted to put a dynamometer in, which a dynamometer, if you don't know, goes in the ground. You strap a car down. It's like a big drum in the ground, and you drive the car on these drums. Well, they looked at me like I was crazy because I didn't want to put an alignment rack in. And I told him, I'm like, look, here's my reasoning. Alignment racks have 4 heads on them that cost about $1,500 a piece. I'm like, are you going to let an entry-level employee do an alignment? They're like, oh, no, we're not going to let them touch that for a couple of years. I'm like, good. How about if I teach a kid how to clean a car really well, and then we don't do that, and I'll still teach what alignments are. And so once I started getting this buy-in from my auto advisory board, I put this dyno in, and I can teach 85% of my students don't have a driver's license. I can teach 100% of my students how to drive on this dynamometer, and they never go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can teach them drivability and stuff, and it puts us in probably the top 1% of high school auto shop programs right out of the chute because we have these tools that no one else has.
And so your goal for your kids, when they show up for your class, and by the time they're done, because some of these kids will spend some years with you.
Yeah, 4 years.
Hours and hours and hours a day. And so what, like ultimately, what is your goal for your kids as they leave your program?
I want them to make a decision. I want them to make a choice. I want them to, when they leave high school, to have already made a decision on where their next move is. I don't tell them where they should go. I tell them where they can go. One of the things that people don't understand and is that an automotive program in a conventional form, the way it was done when I was growing up, everybody was taught to be a mechanic. Well, trust me, I've worked at some of the biggest auto dealerships in the world, and not everybody in that dealership is a mechanic.
Right.
So that's still an automotive professional. If you work in a dealership in any capacity, you're an automotive professional. So there's kids that are strong in economics. That would be a great finance and insurance manager. Those are some of the highest paid guys in a dealership. Some kids can wash a car really, really well and can be very organized and can get their little team of students that are younger than them to work with them. That's a great detail manager. So what I'm trying to do is to impress upon parents and other teachers and people that I think would support my program that an automotive professional is not a mechanic. A mechanic is an automotive professional, but so is a salesman, so is a receptionist, so is a biller, a clerk. You can be a financier and be in a dealership.
Sure.
There's lots of different places that you can place yourself. So that's my goal, is so that students make a choice and they understand that being an automotive professional doesn't mean you have a wrench in your hand 8 hours a day.
Yeah. And so, now tell us some of your, because I know, anytime you have a program like that, there's some kids that, and I'm sure it's more than a few, that are really kind of some, these kids are successful, and they've gone out and they've created professions for themselves based on what they learned in your class. And so, tell me one or two of those kids. Tell me about it.
There's a student. Now, bear in mind, I'm in my third year of teaching right now.
Right.
Okay. This program is still very, very new for me, but I have one of my students that comes to mind has already started a family. He got a job while he was in high school at a local dealership, and he's a successful mechanic there, moving up through the ranks. And he's got a family. He's married, got a kid. That to me, what did I have to do with that? Maybe nothing. But I'm still proud of that kid. You know what I mean? I've got several students. One of the things I was most proud about, even in my first year, is that I think I had 4 students my first year teaching that went on to post-secondary education in automotive. And it wasn't all the one school. There were several different schools that they went to. So that's something that sticks out for me. These are people that are making decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's huge,
that's
man.
what I want ultimately.
Yeah. And so, and I think that's teaching right there, is, in really giving the kids these keys that we talk about, education being the key, and it really is the key that unlocks, just whatever door you want. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, like I said, I would never tell somebody not to go to school, but I would want somebody to go to school for something that they really are passionate about. Find a passion. You know what I mean? Like, find something that gets you amped up. I've got lots of different projects going on in the classroom right now. We had 284 applicants to our program this year. We accepted 144 students. That's humbling.
It really is. Yeah.
And I go home like, man, I don't know what else I could have done. I hired another teacher to work with me, somebody that I knew from back home that is a good counterpart for me. He's got what I don't have and I have what he doesn't have, so we complement each other very well. But that's the thing that I struggle with the most is how can I get more kids this in I don't know if it's enlightenment. I don't know if that's the right word, but I mean, light a fire under them and get them going, get them passionate about something.
Yeah. And talk to me about your administration there at the school. Supportive?
That there isn't an adjective that, and I'm not just putting this out there. I will tell you, there is not an adjective that describes how my administrators treat me as far as a professional. It's overwhelming how supportive they are. I think one of the things that you can do is, and I would tell this to any teacher that's trying to be new out there, is I was given some good advice. Try to handle your business in your classroom as much as possible, and that's twofold. If you have to rely on someone else to come into your classroom, the kids know that.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have to rely on someone else to come in the classroom, the administrators know that, and eventually, you're going to want control of your classroom. You need to establish that right out of the chute, that you are going to make that attempt to manage things, because eventually you're going to have observations and you're going to have people doing assessments and that, and you want your classroom to be somewhere where you can come and be comfortable. And if you're not going to establish that right out of the chute, you're going to start behind the eight ball. You have to absolutely, and you know what? I see 100 kids a day. I don't know a day where 100 people in one place would have a good day at the same time. You know what I mean?
I do, yeah.
And I think so many teachers get caught up on their lesson plans, and this is, I don't want to offend anybody. My advice is that your lesson plan is where you want to go and how you intend to get there. But you got to stop and look at the biggest ball of yarn on the side of the road once in a while. You know, you're supposed to have fun with this thing. You're trying to tell these kids, hey, listen, we want you to have fun. We want you to like school. But we need you to sit down, turn your phone off, turn your iPod off, and get your homework out. And it can't always be like that. You have to teach a kid that there's a time for business and there's a time for not relaxing, but I mean, just getting through the day.
Sure, yeah. Enjoying life.
Exactly. I mean, you only get one. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time, and these kids need to hear that too.
Yeah, I mean, besides, man, it's learning. I mean, what is more fun than learning? And what's more exciting about learning some stuff, especially the stuff that you love and you're passionate about?
I would love it for a student to tell me something I didn't know about a car. I mean, we talked a little bit about this, you and I, over Facebook, about the different kinds of philosophies that we have. And one of my philosophies is never be afraid to be wrong once in a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're not truly putting yourself out there for consumption if you're not willing to get chewed up. You know what I mean? Are you really being completely authentic? If you're afraid for somebody to tell you you're wrong, I mean, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with being wrong once in a while.
Sure.
Doing something wrong with some malice, that's a totally different thing. But making an honest mistake is part of life and part of learning.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times in many classrooms we forget that this is the place that we want kids to make mistakes. I mean, there's a great book that no one's ever read. It's Robert Kiyosaki's. I think it's his first book, and Robert Kiyosaki is the guy that does the Rich Dad Poor Dad stuff.
I love that book.
Yeah, he has a book called "If You Want to Be Rich and Happy, Don't Go to School." And it's a book because what it outlines is in many classrooms there's this model where what we're asking of kids is to sit down, be quiet, don't make mistakes, do what you're told. And that right there, that recipe is as he outlines in the book is in this time, in this entrepreneurial world that we live in, is really detrimental, because what we want our kids to think for themselves, take chances, be willing to make mistakes, try something different, out of the box, collaborate, be resourceful, all those things. And that really doesn't go along with that traditional model that we've seen, over the last century in the classroom.
Well, that's what I mean when I want to change the way we teach industrial arts, is that, if we keep doing what we've always done, we're only going to get what we always got, and it's not working right now. The way I look at it, our generation, I feel like our generation has not reached the potential that we had. And I can tell you where I base that off of. When I was about 12 years old, I can remember getting ready for school, and my mom was talking to me. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't need her to button my shirt at 12, but I think she was straightening my collar or something. And she told me, she goes, I saw on the news last night that your generation is going to be the first generation of kids to not earn more money than their parents. And I thought, well, we'll just have to see about that. And I can tell you almost the day where I knew that I had made more than my dad. And it wasn't like, I got you. It was more like okay, I'm on the right track. I'm making headway. Maybe I'm not doing exactly what I want to do, but what I'm doing today is going to set me up for what I'm going to do down the road. And if you would have told me 10 years ago that I was going to be a teacher, I would have told you, there's no way. This is not going to happen. And I would rather be lucky than good sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but man, you're in it, and dude, you're doing amazing things.
Well, I appreciate that. And the positive reaffirmation that I get from that comes from the kids. I appreciate that it comes from somebody, so far outside my circle of seeing what I do on a daily basis. But what it really matters to me is what my kids think. And I have had teachers come to me and they're like, how do you get your kids to listen to you and do what you need them to do? And I'm like, well, first of all, they don't always do what I need them to do, but I listen to them. I actually listen to my kids.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to do that. They have so many good ideas. If they're getting shot down all the time, like, no, we're not going to do that. I would rather go, okay, let's try it. Yeah, that didn't work, did it?
Right.
I mean, we have some. There's another phrase that I come up with is there's a frequency in the world that young people struggle to tune into, and that frequency is wisdom. Well, we can't keep it for ourselves and just kind of and not share it. We have to put that out there. I mean, we have a frequency that we can give back, and it's if you can share some of that, and the art of diplomacy is letting somebody have your way.
Right.
Hey, yeah, we can try that, but that's probably, what? Let's just try it. And you go, yeah, that didn't work, but we learned from it, and we're not going to do that again because that burner's hot when you turn that thing on. Mom was right.
And man, with your kids in your classroom, I'm thinking back when I was in school, and we had the automotive academy at my school, but it was a separate campus, and the kids got on the bus and either went for the first half of the day or the second half. And I can remember those kids coming back, when they were on their taking their geometry and history and English and all that stuff, that these kids weren't the most successful kids in the school, and
that's because they weren't given the right classes.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now. I graduated high school. I looked back. It was like a 3.4 or 3.6. I can remember standing on that, and my mom was so excited. I was standing on this stage at this honors presentation, looking to my left and right, going, "There's nobody else from auto shop in here. What am I doing here, man? What is this extra chord on? What? Huh? I don't want to be here." And I will tell you, what I was successful at is I said, you know what? Algebra is going to kick my butt. I didn't take it. I took exactly what I needed to take to get out of high school and get a good grade. And so if you set yourself up for failure, sometimes you fail. If you set yourself up for success, sometimes you succeed. I'm not saying don't challenge yourself, but I'm going to tell you that a child that is not performing in a given area, if we give him more of it, it's like an allergy. If a kid can't have peanuts, don't give him peanuts. It's not going to go away.
Right.
You know what I mean? His throat's going to close, and he can't breathe.
Right.
So let's try to find a path, help a kid chart a path to success. And at the end of the day, I'll be honest with you, and God love all the math teachers in the world, but no one's tapped me on the shoulder and said, Mr. Hallman, it's time for your adult algebra exam. I mean, that didn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not trying to downplay anything because there's a place for it, but it wouldn't have helped me. It would have helped to kind of make my high school a bad experience.
And what's interesting is, and there's a move in that direction for some schools, and they've taken this research from the Gallup organization and it's called the Strengths Finder. And they use it in the corporate world. And what they do is they find, what are the strengths of people, and let's focus on that, enhancing those strengths. instead of trying to build up those skills that they just don't inherently have. They're not interested. It's not part of their DNA. And so instead of spending, 80% of the time trying to build up their weaknesses, they're going to spend 80%, percent of their time now on the strength and in enhancing what they're focused on, what they're passionate about. And then, of course, we always want to bring up any of those deficient areas, especially academically. But when we focus on those strengths, that's when we can see the kid's passion comes out. And so much more than that is.
Well, think about it like this. I'm gonna put it in simple, dummy terms, because that's how I speak. You have, if you have a physical injury on your body, okay, it may never repair itself, but the muscle tissue around it is going to compensate. It's like when you lose one of your five senses, the other senses step up and make, when you lose your sense of taste and smell, your sense of hearing is going to get more acute because you've got to hear that fire because you're not going to smell the smoke, right? That needs to happen academically. We need to help these kids and do that. And it's not about putting somebody in a boom class because they're not smart enough. And we have to challenge them. But if you put somebody in a room of mediocrity, it's easier to rise to the top. If you put a mediocre kid in a room full of academics, it's easier for them to rise to the top too. It's just going to happen intrinsically. It's a systemic thing that people try to, that's that we do FCAT testing here in Florida. I'm totally against it. I do not like assessments like that. I don't think that anybody should be pigeonholed to a number like that academically, because I have smart kids who struggle with reading, and I watch them read, and they can read, and what they struggle with is testing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Clearly.
There's not a test for that. Why isn't there a test for kids who can't take tests very well? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I mean, if you're gonna put a number on every little microcosm of academia that these kids have, and you're gonna compartmentalize where they fit into the world, well, why isn't there a number for that? Some people are deficient in that. Some people get anxiety. I'm totally against just over medicating a situation too. And there's lots of different things that we can do. But my point being is that you have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge a kid, but you've also got to have realistic expectations. You've got to set achievable goals for that kid.
And I think also for the kids that come into your class, I mean, these are really kind of hands-on kinesthetic kids. These are the doers, who find success, just give me that thing. Let me get my hands dirty. Let me get into there, and I'll figure it out as we go along. Well, that program, that's not going to work in another classroom when you're sitting in rows and columns and do what you're told. Here's the worksheet, and so that kid who might seemingly be unsuccessful academically truly is a phenomenal success, just in a different recipe.
Absolutely. I mean, and if anything, that was one of the things that I wanted to challenge the current the regime or whatever, the way we do things. I am an absolute case study. I'm sure. I think this is all. Ashton Kutcher is going to walk in here. I've been punked, and I'm somehow part of some beta test at government levels or something, because I'm telling you that I fell on me, and I'm doing the best I can, and I make a lot of mistakes, but I'm learning along the way, and it's made me be a better person. I've had to step up in a lot of ways. I can't tell somebody they got to read if I'm not going to read. I can't tell somebody that you've got to learn this algebra if I'm not going to. I'm kind of, sticking my toes in the water of being a little more academic. And myself, I'm trying to be more articulate, be smarter. I'm trying to be that person that stands in front of somebody and they judge me, because I get judged. It's just the way it happens. And I like my external appearance, and I like my tattoos. They all mean something to me. And I'm willing to tell you about them if you're willing to listen to me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll tell you all about them, and they hurt. You know what I mean? We can start with that one, but I have a quick story to tell you.
Yeah.
This just happened to me. When we got approval for the building last year, I had to present in front of the school board.
Uh-huh.
There was a gentleman in the audience. I stood up, and he said his initial reaction was like, "Oh my God, what is this? This person is in charge of students." Like, he was seriously berating me in his head.
1.4 million to that guy? Right.
Exactly. This guy's a momo. Like, what are we going to do? And apparently, as luck would have it, this is our new superintendent of schools.
There you go.
And you know what I mean? And he's told everybody, and everybody's come to me. He's like, "This guy really thinks that you're outstanding," and he wished that he had a teacher like you in school because you walk the walk and talk the talk, and you have to just be authentic. And it goes back to what we first started with. You have to be overwhelmingly authentic because everybody can see through it at the end.
Yeah. And so this is interesting. So when this whole teaching thing kind of fell into your lap, and so, I mean, obviously you start telling people, hey bro, check it out, I'm going to be a teacher. And so when like word gets around your circles and your biker friends and the whole, community, what was their reaction to the whole thing?
Expletive, oh my God, expletive. I mean, if you look at the Facebook post of doing that, everybody thought, oh God, like, seriously? Like, you're going to be in charge of any students? And I mean, it was very laughable at best. But, most of the people that really knew me knew that if I was going to do anything, I was going to do it to the best of my ability. And, that's what I do every day is I get up and I give it 300%. Sometimes 300% isn't what I could do yesterday, and it might not be as much as I can do tomorrow, but I'm giving all I got every single day.
Yeah. And do you still keep in touch with your auto shop teacher from your school, high school?
I do. The first thing I did, I got my job 2 years ago in November, like 20th I started, and then I got on a plane and I flew back to Detroit, and that was the first place I went, and he looked at me and he's like, well, what are you doing here? Right. And I go, man, you're not gonna believe what I'm gonna tell you. And I told him, he's like, that's pretty cool. He goes, I actually feel like I can retire now. He goes,
yeah.
It was cool, and I've been back there every year since. In fact, I just saw him a couple weeks ago at Thanksgiving, and he's giving me tips on like using new technology and how he's teaching. And man, if that guy can do it, after dude started in '79 in the school that I went to, and he's still banging out kids and stuff, and good mechanics and good automotive professionals and stuff. So
that's awesome.
He can do it, I can do it.
So what's crazy about you, brother, is not only do you have this going on, but man, you've got the shop, you have you still have a business. So because I mean, you moved to Florida to open up this business. And while you're in the midst of running this business, you get the teaching job. So you keep both going. In addition to that, you have your podcast now. And so and you have all this crazy stuff. So I mean, how do you keep up with all this?
I don't know. I feel like we're here for a finite amount of time, and I'm going to absolutely get every ounce of energy I can out of every minute of the day. The good news is I sleep very well at night. Where I didn't used to. I mean, I don't go to bed. I pass out like 9:14 hits. I'm gone. My day, I get up at about 4:45, have a cup of coffee, take a shower, do all my stuff. I get in the car. I drive an hour to school. It's an hour one way. I teach all day, and mind you, since I've been there, I've been charged with. I chair the discipline committee. I'm on a few other committees and stuff. I'm the vocational team leader for our school. I'm writing all the EOC stuff, the end of course examination. Me and another teacher from our district are writing that. So I don't know, man. I want to get as much as I can out of this whole deal and do as much as I can. And I got two kids. I got my daughter's a senior in high school, and my youngest daughter is in 8th grade.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that. I got to tell you about it because there's, when I first, you're going to come on the show, I checked out your Facebook. I actually clicked on your pictures, and there's something that sticks out about your family. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but you've got there's this beautiful little girls, and then there's you.
I know, like I've been married since '94, and I've been with my wife for 22 years now.
Yeah.
And it's, we got married in '94. Long story short, I don't know. I've told her that the older I get, the better decisions I want to make, and I want to surround myself with people who make good decisions. And her decision of staying with me for all these years, I'm really starting to question that. You know what I mean? I don't know how she does it. I really don't. My wife is, and I'm just going to say it, my wife is unbelievably tolerant, unbelievably talented. My wife, and here's how she keeps me in line. My wife's a 4-time national champion black belt in karate, and was on the U.S. Olympic, the junior Olympic team. And so I just don't. I'm okay. I see the. Yeah, we're good. I know how this is going to end.
Right.
And I can't put my head over or my foot over my head, but you can. So. Yeah, my wife is, and she's drop dead gorgeous.
Yeah.
So.
and so you leave school, and what do? You head to the shop after that?
I immediately go to the motorcycle shop. I usually get here about 3:30. Handle the things that have. There's certain people that will only deal with me because of the nature of the project that we're working on.
Yeah.
But my dad is the counter guy, and my mom is the controller. She's the one that runs the company for me. I've got a mechanic that works for me, my buddy Don, and then the guy I teach with at Wesley Chapel is a part-time mechanic here for me. So, and we're trying to build a huge corporation out of it. So, it does keep me busy.
Of course you are. I can't imagine. No, I just can't see the words. No, we're just trying to run a little small thing here.
No, we're not. I'm trying to take over the world one motorcycle tire at a time.
and then you take it to the house and you do your family time and 914 hits and that's it, man.
And then I'm cashed out. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, we find a way to get everything done. My daughter, my oldest daughter, is very much like me, and she doesn't stop. She goes to high school and she's a 4.0 student. That's no lie, and she's actually really smart. She takes like hard classes.
Right.
She didn't do what I did.
Right.
But she was working 2 jobs for a while, and now she works at the shop with me here. And hopefully that'll turn into something. But she wants a degree in agriculture, so she rides a horse. She's the officer of her 4-H club. She runs that. She runs their Facebook page. She, takes care of her horse, and she does all that stuff. I mean, for me, if I go home and sit down and I'm not being productive, I'm thinking about, my family could do more, or my wife could have more, my kids could do more. We could do, I don't know. I mean, I can't, idle time for me is this, I feel like I'm wasting something.
Yeah.
So
you guys aren't sitting around as a family just on the couch eating chips and watching TV every night.
We do that, but my wife goes to school full time, and she has a full time job too. She works for Polk County where we live, and we just we have quality time together.
Yeah,
it's quality. When we're together as a family, we have a riot. My kids, I don't know where she gets it from, but my oldest daughter is got this sense of humor that is just off the rails funny, and my younger daughter is one of those quiet, silent, like really she's funny when she knows when she's funny. She'll say a joke and she'll just sit in the corner and just kind of grimace, real quietly. She's that silent one.
Nice. And then the podcast, man, the Hell on Wheels podcast. Talk to me about that.
You know what? Here's what happened. I've been in the motorcycle industry since 2003. I've put together a lot of bikes in that time, and I used to be an associate editor for the largest motorcycle magazine in the world. It's called The Horse, Backstreet Choppers. And I was an associate editor for them for about 2 years, and I'd written for them for about 5 years. And for whatever reason, I never got any official word, but I was just kind of removed from the mailing list and stuff. And I have a lot of contacts. So I found a podcast that I really started listening to. It's the same one you listened to. We talked about it a little bit. And I really liked that format. I liked the radio format. I liked the radio deal when I had that. It wasn't enough money. I wasn't living by my fiance. It was just emotionally I wasn't ready to be away from everything I knew.
Yeah.
So I thought, what, I know how to do this. Like I've been on TV. I did an episode of a show called Motor City Motors for Discovery Channel a couple years ago, and I enjoyed that. I enjoy being in front of a camera and talking to people and stuff, and I'm kind of gregarious, so I thought, I'm going to use all these contacts I have in the motorcycle industry, and I'm just going to do this podcast thing. I'm just going to sit down with somebody. We're going to talk about what's going on. We're, no drama, none of that stuff.
Right.
But we're going to be authentic and have a conversation, and talk about motorcycles. And it's been overwhelming because there isn't another custom motorcycle podcast out there. I'm like the only guy out there. And I know someone's going to come along with more money and have more friends and more influence, and they're going to surpass me. But I can always say, I got out of the gate before anybody did, and it's a marathon, not a sprint, and I think it's going to go really well.
Yeah,
it's already doing well. So
yeah, it's awesome, man. I've checked. I don't know anything about motorcycles, and I listened to it. I didn't click off, so I know it's good.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I actually I was one of the questions I had. I was wondering if you rode because you had that biker look,
Yeah, I've got the boots, I've got the hair, I've got the attitude. I just don't have the motorcycle. So
I hear you.
You gotta, you have to. I'm working on my motorcycle persona first. And
right on. Yeah, you got to get that down right.
I don't want to be a poser, but I want to be the real deal. And
Real deal.
So
Get yourself a Kickstart Harley right out of the chute.
yeah, done. Absolutely. And then, so man, what I mean, where do you go from here, man? You got all this stuff going on. You're working full time. You can't pack really much more into your life. And so, talk to me first about your goals for your kids at school and your program. I mean, what's next? You've built this huge shop. You're in the top 1% of all shops at schools in the nation. It's state of the art. You have phenomenal amounts of kids, incredible success. I mean, like, what's next?
Well, what I want to do with it now is, now that it's open, we just opened it like a week ago, literally. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a like a service program to where we have a consistent set of customers coming through, doing a consistent set of services. Oil changes, tire rotations, tire mount and balance, brake, turning the brakes and rotors, and that. So we're just going to build some skills, some base skills out of repetition. One of the things that I think is super important is to teach the basics and allow the students' natural abilities to come through and have them start to learn to chart their own path, okay, and teach to those kids. And that's why the person that we hired to work with me has an entirely different set of skills than I have. We want to be able to cover those bases for those kids and help them plot their course. The school, I think, is going to be on a bit of autopilot. And when I say that, I don't mean that I'm going to be able to step back and not do anything. I think that we're not going to have any shortage of people wanting to have their cars worked on.
For sure.
I definitely do not have a shortage of students with interest in the program. I think our next course of action is going to be to build the academy into a real deal, to where we can show through history that we can produce a student that is well-rounded and can be an automotive professional. It's not where they're only going to be a mechanic. I want students to understand that, and parents too, we need parental buy-in. We have the administrators. The administrators are I don't have anything to compare it to, but the thing that keeps me up, if anything keeps me up at night, is that something would happen to my administrative team and they'd get moved around the county, which is entirely possible. I mean, our school was a D school like 4 or 5 years ago. When our principal came on, we were an A school last year. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't happen just by happenstance.
Dude, let me tell you something about that. That is not about the crazy cosmic alignment of the stars. That is about, someone who, stays awake at night and comes up with a plan and gets buy-in from teachers and kids and community and steps into the hallways first thing in the morning every day and leads a school. It's real leadership.
It is, and it's leading by example. I had a student tell me something the other day. I told you my dad was the best teacher I ever had, as far as the first teacher I ever had and the best teacher I ever had. He taught me one time, he's like, listen, if you're going to be a manager, I had a management position offered to me when I was like 21 years old or 20 years old, and he told me, if you're going to be a manager, you have to be the first person to grab a mop. You have to be the first person to grab a broom. And if you are the first person to grab a broom or a mop, it'll be probably one of the last times you ever have to grab it. And so, I've used that principle of teaching. Like, when there's a mess, I'm the first one to clean it up, and I don't have to do it anymore because those kids want to do it. It's not that I don't want to clean up a mess. It's that I want to build students that understand, what being an automotive professional means. So that's my whole focus. I pray at night that my administrative team stays intact, but I want students to be automotive professionals, and I want them to understand what that means, and I want them to respect that decision that they make, and I want other people in their lives to respect the decision that those students have made. I teach my kids how to roll up an extension cord properly. I teach my kids how to roll up an air hose properly. I teach my kids how to shake a hand. My kids come to school the last day of school. Their final exam is they interview with me for a position. Somewhere in that classroom, one of their classmates, not their friend necessarily, but one of their classmates has an evaluation tool. I evaluate the student as I interview them. The student doesn't know who has their evaluation. They're being evaluated by one of their peers. Again, not their friend. I strategically place these so that if you and I aren't buddies in school, I'm evaluating you and your interview. Your final examination grade is based off of my evaluation and the evaluation of your peer and how well he lobbies for you. If I score you a 3 and he thinks you should have got a 4, he can lobby for you to get you that 4. So I'm trying to teach them community. I'm trying to teach them that, yeah, you're going to work next to a guy who's going to play his radio too loud, and he's going to get angry, and he's always going to have drama with his old lady and throw a phone. But you're still going to have to work next to that dude. So you got to learn how to work with that guy. So I'm trying to teach community. One of the first things I did was I made everybody share their cell phones. Okay, you're going to share your cell phone number. Everybody in here is going to have their cell phone number, including mine. I'm available 24/7 to my students. Other teachers tell me I'm crazy. I don't care. You know, just to get real serious for a minute, when I go away on break and my kids go away on break, they know. I mean, these are high school kids.
Yeah.
There's peer pressure out there.
Sure.
If they get in trouble, they better call me. I know that they don't want to call their parents, and I'm not trying to circumvent that. What I'm trying to do is you call me. I'm not going to come pick you up, but I will make sure someone does. I don't want to go to a student's funeral. So that kind of stuff is I'm trying to build a community, and it's working, man. It's these kids. When we had jackets made, like real old-fashioned garage. You remember the gas stations when we were kids?
Right.
They had the blue jacket, and somewhere on the back would be embroidered, like, Floyd's service.
Uh-huh.
Well, I had an old chain stitching style done. It says Wesley Chapel Auto Academy. When they get those jackets, man, it means something to them.
Yeah, dude.
That's
it could be
important
130 degrees. They're putting the jacket on, baby.
And they're putting that jacket on, dude.
Yeah.
And they're rocking that thing around campus, and no one else can get one. You have to earn that jacket. You can't even buy one. You have to pay for it when you're in the program, but you have to be in that program for more than 2 years to get that jacket. It's the real deal. Like, you can't. So they're getting it, man. And these kids, I knew it was working when we had a kid that was missing some school because he was sick and stuff, and his teammates went after him when he came back. They're pulling him off to the side, and they're like, what's going on, dude? What? You're not going to, you can't do this next year when we're at UTI, because the three of these guys want to go to UTI together. It's like, you can't miss time, man. And so that makes my job easier, and it makes we're not raising kids, man. We're raising adults.
Yeah.
I never talk to my kids like they're kids. I talk to my kids like they need to be talked to in a given situation. If I'm mad at them, I let them know. If they're doing something wrong, I let them know. If I'm happy and they make me proud, I let them know that too. I'm always doing that. And they learn to do that for each other, man.
Yeah, like you said, man, it's a family, it's a community, and for you to serve in that role, it's that honor and privilege of standing before those kids every day, serving it, we're a teacher, of course, but it's also and there's a time to have a confidant, there's a time to be a friend, there's a time to be the father.
Absolutely, and I'm not these kids' buddies, but I'm their friend, and a lot of people, a lot of teachers will tell me, you got to be careful if a student comes to you with something and it's something, it's a personal matter, you can't address that with them. I'm like, no. You know what? I'm going to always do what I think is right. Part of doing what is right is accepting the consequences that you have no control of. That's how you be authentic, is you make a choice and you stand behind it and you wear that suit, whether it's a scarlet letter or whether it's an academic letter or if it's an award. You wear it based off of what I let the ends justify the means. I always do what I think is right in every given situation for that moment with the information that I have. If it's not right, like I said, I'm going to do this job until they don't want me to do it anymore, but I'm always going to be truthful about it, and I'm always going to do what I think is right.
And then, so we have that going on. Hey, in the school, is there? You guys have any sponsors? I know, like here in Texas, there's a lot of like Cisco sponsors some computer labs and all that. Is it? You guys have any sponsors there at the academy?
Not yet. We do have a very supportive auto advisory board, and these gentlemen and ladies that come to our auto advisory meetings, they actively hire our students. So, that's kind of a sponsorship.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Our shirts that we wear in the auto shop that we have made once a year for our fundraiser, they have all of the supporting, businesses around. But there's not one specific sponsor that comes in, and we've talked about doing that, and we may do that as long as it suits the kids in the program.
Sure.
It has to be done for the right reasons. You know what I mean? I know you wouldn't have a sponsor on this program that didn't suit the end result of what you're trying to do. And until we determine exactly what it is, I'm still trying to build that community around that classroom, and it's working. I got kids coming to school an hour early, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a tardy problem.
Right.
They're like banging on the door. I'm there at 6:30, and they're like, whap, whap, whap. Hey, can I come in? I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? And when they come in, hey, get the doors up, turn the lights on, fire the machines up. Let's get going here. If you're going to come in here, we're going to do something. And man, they're on point.
Yeah, they love it, man. That's the thing, it's a beautiful thing to watch a kid, or anybody really, who's found their passion. And I don't care what it is, just to watch somebody who's found it and living that, man, it's just awesome. Because a lot of people have grown up with parents who have gone to work and been miserable and hated their job, and just hear them talk about that. But it's such a rare thing to especially at the age of a kid or anybody, is to find somebody who just loves it so much and just is driven by that passion and shows up at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yep. I mean, I've got, like I said, we opened the school last week, and every day I've had a student there. I get text messages. I can show you my phone. Hey, how early are you going to be at school? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like an hour after I leave my house. That's how early I'm going to be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, so there you go. That's it for the school. How about with your podcast? What's the goal there?
My goal for my podcast, honestly, is I want to see it get some national and international recognition. I'm somebody who's, again, I'm very opinionated. I try not to be opinionated to a fault, but we had an explosion in the business, with the TV stuff and all those things, and I want to see it get to a much more manageable and organic level, where there's a lot of guys that they're building motorcycles in their garage, and there's a lot of guys that once had big shops and now are back in the small shops and stuff, and I want to put that out there for them. I mean, TV is not a good medium for it anymore. I don't know if you've had any involvement with TV, but it's so contrived, it's so fake, and it's so inauthentic, and everybody can smell through it, man. And there's so much. It's such a money grab. That I don't want to be involved in something like that. I want to be involved in something that I think is, I want it to be something I want to listen to. And I've listened to my podcast through my iPhone on the way to work, because I got an hour drive, so I make my podcast an hour so I can listen to them.
Right.
And I hope other people do that too. And I think that there's going to be some sponsors that come through on that, but it's going to be the right ones. It's going to be the ones that hear it, and they're going to be able to target who they want to get to.
Yeah, like I told you, man. I think there's going to be a huge sponsorship opportunities with your podcast. And so, and as far as the TV and the contrived thing, because most people have seen like the Orange County guys and their shenanigans and all that, and Jesse James and all that. And so, in your opinion, as a professional in the business, is all that contrived?
100% of it. I mean, I know Jesse. He's probably the most authentic out of all those guys.
Yeah.
He really, honestly doesn't care. So if you see him saying he doesn't care, he doesn't care.
Right.
It's contrived for TV, and that program does not hit the demographic. It doesn't hit me as a demographic. I'm not in that demographic. I'm not entertained by that.
Yeah.
I know most of those guys, some on a personal level, some of them I just know through business, and most of them aren't like how they're portrayed there, man. And that's not what this business is about, anyways. The quickest way to make $1 million in the motorcycle business is to start with two. And here I am. I've got a couple custom builds going on right now. I've always got a few irons in the fire, and I love that. That's a labor of love. And I'm a horsepower junkie, and I like fast bikes, and I like shiny bikes. And again, I'm 100% 15-year-old dumb boy when it comes to that. It's loud, makes sparks, and it's shiny. I'm like, whoa, what is it? Can I get one?
Right.
So, but that industry has calmed down, and through natural attrition, the people that are in that business. If you meet somebody who's in the bike business right now, and they're not on TV, they're in it for the right reasons, and that's the guy I want to talk to. That's the person that I want to know. Man, how bad does it suck to get paid $25 to pop a tire off a Road King? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
That's the real deal, because that's what we do a lot of. I'm like, another oil change, really? Like, you don't want like custom paint, or I can't build you a chopper. you want an oil change?
So anyway, so you're going to do more shows. You're going to maybe find some sponsors here and there, and keep that thing going. And
yeah, I want that to be. I would like to get to a weekly thing. Right now, I'm trying to do it bi-weekly.
Yeah.
And I would like to use that as use my schedule from school and my schedule from the shop, and try to work that into some events and that, to where I can go and like just kind of load up on episodes.
Sure.
If I do it for an hour, I can spend 3 hours in a day and get three episodes done. Go home, make sure that they're edited right and add the theme song and all that stuff, and be good to go.
There you go. And then finally, your family, man, because I know you talk a lot about that, and you have on Facebook you post a lot of stuff about parenting and kids, and so you and your wife moving forward. I mean, you guys have done an awesome job already. You should take full credit, man. It's all you. And then and so moving forward, kind of what's the goal there with your family, because you guys are getting into the final years of what I call on-site parenting. Parenting never ends, but you got kids on site.
Yeah, I've got well, right now, I want my kids to do the same thing I want my students to do. I want them to make a choice. I don't care what my kid does for a living. I want her to be happy. I've had jobs where I was very unhappy, and I can't stress enough how unhealthy a job that you're not happy that you're doing is, regardless of how much you make. I've made a lot of money, and it was in a job where I felt like I was working for the devil. Like I was not doing anything worthwhile at all, not for me, not for my kids, not even for my employer.
Yeah.
And that's a very dark place to be. And so I want my kids to be happy. I want them but I also want them to understand that brain surgeons make more than basket weavers. But if you want to be a basket weaver, build a life that a basket weaver can have. And that's what I want from them. I want them to be happy. I want them to be happy. That's all I want. And I want grandsons. And as far as my wife, if she'll have me, I want to walk into the valley of death with her. She is absolutely somebody that gets me to a point where I well up. I'm a big softie. And there's nobody on this planet that makes me feel like she does. I mean, she's the only person. She can shame me more than anybody in the world, and I just gotta take it, man. She's the only person that can shame me like that, and she's usually right. Because I'm going back. I'm a moron, man. And people are like, "How can you have been together that long?" And I can tell you, because if you think of every stupid fight, every meaningless thing you've ever said, every meaningful thing you've ever said, every time you've had a good time with somebody, I've had, in all the boyfriends or girlfriends that somebody's had, I've had that with one person, right? So there's nothing, and we've been tested, man. We have been tested several times, and there's nothing that can come between the two of us. Yeah. We're rock solid, dude. And I love her more than I could ever care about myself or anybody else. I live for her.
Love it, brother. So I'll tell you what, man. You know what I've decided we've had here? I think it's official, man. We have a true rock star teaching American hero. I mean, when you get down to it, somebody walks in and wakes up at 4:30 in the morning and kicks it off, and then gets in on the drive to work. He's working, he's thinking, he's in the classroom, he's working with kids. After that, he gets to the shop. He's got the family employed there. Comes home and hangs out with the family and with the love of his life and his kids. And it's just, man, it's such an inspiring story, dude. And I appreciate you being on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, man. I was absolutely humbled that you asked me, because I just kind of get up every day and put my pants on one leg at a time and just go do my thing, and it kind of made me step back and go, okay, someone's watching what I'm doing, and that's good, because that's a reality check, and I want to make sure that I want to do everybody proud that has put any stock in me at all. I don't ever want to go, oh, that's how he did it. He wasn't doing this. He wasn't taking care of things at home. He wasn't taking care of things financially. Man, I feel like I'm hitting on all cylinders, and I am tired at the end of the day. But when I leave this world, I don't want to have any regrets, man.
There's your tombstone right there, hitting on all cylinders.
Yep.
All right, dude. Have an amazing Christmas, man.
You too. Merry Christmas, brother.
And say hi to the wife and kids, and hey, and don't forget to share it with your students back in the shop, man. Say, hey, dude, it's official.
Right on.
I'm the American hero, baby. Check it out. teachlikearockstar.com. All right, man. Thanks again. Have a great holidays, and man, we'll see you on Facebook. Hey, and I'm coming to Florida, so maybe we can hook it up again at the next show, and come on and hang out for the day. And
I would absolutely love to do that, man. You got my number, so get a hold of me.
All right, brother.
Right on.
I appreciate you, man.
Bye.
Take care.